I don't even know. Freaking fragging. Okay. How do I get there? Got that. Think. Okay. Welcome to Get Angels Fly, Tarot, and more. My name is Nancy, and I'm here to discuss the planned demic. I'm gonna wait a few minutes to see if I can build an audience. How you doing, Queen Design? I haven't seen you in a while. Well, I haven't been live in a while. But how you doing? Um, Today I'm here to have a discussion. I don't know how long it'll be, but if you really follow me, you may have noticed I've been very, very quiet since, you know, everything has come to fruition. There's always some noise. I'm so happy to hear that. Uh, and so I've been really, really quiet. And one of the things that I noticed is that I wasn't receiving any messages. And that was a little concerning to me, that I wasn't receiving any messages. When I say I haven't been receiving any messages, I'm talking about how I be telling y'all, you know, I hear from different spirits and things like that. I hadn't heard a word. It was just a hush. And so to some degree, I was concerned about it because I didn't know, you know, as far as my YouTube channel, this is why I was worried about it. Because as far as my YouTube channel, I didn't know where to go. I had no idea where to go. You know, in order to create content. And I didn't just want to create content just to create it. That means I would just be talking out the side of my neck. And that's not what I wanted to do. That's not what my channel's about. And so I've only gone live and uploaded about 2 or 3 videos since basically all of this has started. And it was a few things that I was researching, but it was so scattered to I couldn't make a comprehensive story of it. I couldn't see it. What I've shared in the last few videos and last stream still stand true based on my perspective. But today, for the first time in over a month, going on 2 months, I finally heard something today. And I was like, wow, thank goodness. Okay. So I could get started again. Anywho, in my own private life, over the course of my life, I have continued to receive messages from, you know, I'll say unknown sources. And I've talked about those unknown sources. And then there's been time periods that I didn't hear from those unidentifiable or unknown sources. And it was a little disconcerting to me because I got to the point where I didn't know how to move my life forward. You know, I got dependent on it. And I told that story before, and it includes the on TV minister Joyce Myers and how she delivered a message one day that talked about there's a time period when God leaves you to walk by yourself. You know, the footprints in the sand. And so I told that story before. And so, but you know, over my what I'm trying to say is over the course of my life, I've grown accustomed to the times that I hear from the unknown, and then the times that I don't hear from the unknown. That's my personal life. And so I don't have to create content to share with others. I just got to move forward my life the best way I can. I look at it as free time, and also times that I'll be tested on what I've learned. But it's different here on YouTube because I'm sharing everything that I have encountered throughout my lifetime. And like last year, this live does have a subject matter. I'm just trying to give some backstory. Last year, the close of last year, when all of the predictions that I made came into the forefront, you know, the coronavirus and everything, it almost seemed like it finalized my story. To me, it finalized my story, and or at least brought you, ladies and gentlemen, up to date to where I was at that time, that I had that feeling and that sensation. I said, hey, now we're walking together. You know what I'm saying? We're walking together, entering into this, you know, new experience. And so, as mentioned, since that time, I hadn't heard a word. And I was like, well, my YouTube channel is over because I don't have anything else to share. I say the things that I was picking up on, it was so inconsistent and sporadic. That's when I was talking about aliens and things. Again, all of that stands true. But again, I don't have a concrete, comprehensive storyline to give you with, you know, receipts. So I'm just holding off in relationship to that. So today, I finally got the message, and it's about the pandemic. And say this. What spoke to me again. It was like out of the blue. So I didn't pick up on if it was per se male or female. In retrospect, I want to say it was a masculine energy that spoke to me, but it just came out of nowhere. Remember, I hadn't heard from nothing. So it just came out of nowhere today, and I was like, oh, I got it. You know, it was a rush of information. And I believe that other people have this information and probably have been sharing it. I haven't thought that deep into it to know if others have received it or not. I'm going to have to, you know, check the different platforms out to see if I hear anything like this, which I have to. I think I'm kind of late in receiving the message. But anyway, let me try to explain. I'm still kind of excited about this message. And the message is about the pandemic. Okay, I said I was going to do this a certain way. Let me start again. Well, not start again. In 2019, about August, I created a video. It was called The Secret Message. In that video, I shared my research. All of my research consisted of astrology, history. What else did I use? Astrology, history, and I can't think right now. In order to, you know, compose the message, to get the message that was being offered to humanity at the time. And that message, that secret message, was that we were about to enter a time period that we could categorize as greater than the Great Depression of the 1930s. We are on the verge of the greatest depression known to mankind. Even though our media is not letting that be known. Let me stop. I see. Hi, how are you doing, Camille? Thank you. And toast, I'm being on my best behavior, even though I still got my box of wine down there. I never went back to it. I might go back to it tonight because I know I got a full day and night of study ahead of me. But cheers. This is coffee. How are you doing? And I'll wait for your answer, but I'm going to continue to talk. This is going to be somewhat of a long live stream. Y'all know I'm long-winded. And so, you know, I just appreciate you hanging around, you know, when you can. Anyway, so going back to that secret message, it said, hey, when I was encoding the message back in 2019, now mind you, the message, come on now, who is that? Can I, oh my, I have been receiving so many messages. It just rushed in. You're doing good. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. That just that just, washes over me and makes me feel really great that you all are doing so well at this point in time. Oh my God. Help me. Anywho, that secret message talked about, in that secret message, it talked about not only, or gave a warning that we were about to enter into a depression greater than the depression of the 1930s. It also let us know that people wouldn't know where oh God, I get on here and just go brain dead. Thank you, Queen Design. That people wouldn't know where or what the threat really was. It would seem like it would come out of nowhere. And the stress related to this time period that we are in and going into as well, because it's supposed to be greater than the Great Depression. So it's just the onset of it, is one that will lead people to move to try to self-medicate themselves with drugs and alcohol, just like really overindulge, just trying to cope with what's taking place and what will take place. Other people may do the unspeakable. These were the same emotional responses or responses people had back in the 1930s that is anticipated to occur as a direct result of what we're going into. People back in the 1930s also became homeless. They were hungry. They didn't have food. So we haven't gotten to that point yet. Oh, it's so much. Help me organize this. We haven't gotten to that yet. The media is not letting that be known, that we are headed into a time such as what I speak of. You can go research the Great Depression of the 1930s and to get an idea of what we're headed into. Because I know I don't do a good job at explaining. Anywho, just imagine all of the people during that time period, the laymen and women, losing their jobs, their homes, not being able to afford housing or food or clothing. It's just the stress of it. The stress of it on relationships, on families. And then the stress itself leading people to do the unthinkable or that which is counterproductive. We're headed toward that. But this time period that we're headed into, just like it was during the 1930s, is planned. Back in the 1930s, the Depression was planned and implemented in order to destabilize the people, so that those that were over industries or held seats of power, whether it was industrial, political seats of held them seats of power, could revise the social construct back then to upgrade the industries of that time period. That same thing stands true today to why we're going through what we're going through. And so today we're going to talk about the upgrades, the revisions that are taking place. Help me, right? So I'm supposed to talk about that video, because that video talked about an intentional stalling of society, or an intentional stalling of the population and their ability to provide for themselves for the sole purpose of, we could say, upgrading the social structures in order to include their level of advancements in technology, such as the converter belt and different things like that. The ability to build suspended bridges, like the what was that name of that bridge? I can't think of the name of the bridge though. I can't think of the bridge. So so what am I saying? It's the same thing now. All of our social constructs, I've talked about this before, are being upgraded and revised. And these revisions, of course, will include our advancements in technology, just like it did back in the 1930s. Oh, man. I'm going to lose it. Stay calm. Oh. What else was I supposed to talk about? COVID-19 and the pandemic. It's been scheduled for a very long time for the world to upgrade. When I say upgrade, I'm talking about to include our advancements in technology. In order to do so, there had to be a lot of changes that would need to take place that was guaranteed to destabilize society or societies, because this is worldwide. There was no other way to do it. They knew there would be losses. It's a lot going on. Okay, y'all. I see Agenda 21. So let me talk about the COVID-19 or the coronavirus disease. Identified, I guess, in 2019. That's where the name comes from. Now, I've been watching a lot of videos about the virus, medical videos. I shared with y'all last year that I said, hey, you know, I believe I had this coronavirus, and I talked about it in detail. Since that time, me and my family have consistently been sick and battling off the different phases of it off. And so I think I kind of know the virus pretty well, but I don't want to be arrogant, fully arrogant to say that, because I don't want to get attacked in a way that I can't, you know, overcome it. Anyway, we know that a lot of people have died from the virus. How can I say this? As I move forward with this live stream, I like you to consider that there are multiple phases going on to this pandemic. There are multiple phases. And so right now I'm just talking about one phase when I talk about the COVID-19. Now, the COVID-19 seems to be, let me, disclaimer, I don't have any medical credentials, accolades, degrees, or nothing. This is just me talking to you, ladies and gentlemen, about what I'm witnessing and how I am perceiving what I'm witnessing and comprehending it. Is that this COVID-19 is, known to attack the lungs. But autopsies have been done, since there's so many deaths. They're trying to figure out what's going on. And in those autopsies, they found that the COVID-19 or the coronavirus is not just attacking the lungs, but that's the primary organ that it is affecting. It also is affecting other organs in the body. And another area in the body that is affected is the throat. And I talked about the throat, and you can feel it. It talked about it being the virus being present in the throat, it affecting the heart. Was it the kidneys? The heart, the kidneys, and it was something else, and the lungs. Not only that, how can I say it? Oh man, I must try to slow down, y'all, because I get so upset because I get on here and can't speak. I'm a mental person, so it flow easy in my mind. This is when I had to open up my mouth, become the problem. So ride the wave with me if you will. So, still talking about the coronavirus. People and their health. Some people don't have health issues, and I'm not talking about if you're aware of them of the health issue or not. I'm talking about just the human body not having any defects or deficiencies in it. Some humans are still, we can say, very healthy, very, very healthy. And then there are humans that are predisposed to certain health conditions, like could be hereditary, diabetes, heart disease, different things like that. Then there are people that health has failed them for one reason or another, whether it is, again, genetic, and then they enter into the time period that something is triggered and causes it, just out of the blue, seem like. Or if a person just got a hold or exposed to some contaminant in this world, leading to some type of medical condition or pre-existing condition. Help me ride. People's health. Now, the virus, when it comes through, a person that I will say has a healthy body, of course, has an increased chances of combating the virus. Then there are people that may have health conditions, but they stay on top of those health conditions. Like if a person has high blood pressure, they take the appropriate medicine and they keep it down. They may have, I don't know, whatever other disease, kidney disease, and they get their dialysis or whatever it is. So you stay on top of the medical condition in order to try to keep your body in as much optimal health as possible. Those people also have an increased chance of combating the virus if they get it. But then there are other people, again, that have systems that are susceptible to be affected. And this virus is what I'm trying to talk about, even though I don't have no degrees or accolades. Whatever this virus is, I personally have come to believe that it's man-made. Man-made meaning different elements of this world were put together to create something that was harmful to humans, period. So when this one virus will say, even though, y'all, another problem I have when I'm talking is I know that people want to come back and try to debunk a person, argue a person. So I'll be trying to cover everything at once to block people out, and it makes it difficult for me to speak because there's so much more I can say on any given subject I talk about. But that makes the videos lengthy, and it also has me going off subject, and I'm trying to go somewhere with this. If you just ride the wave with me. So, what this virus seems like it does is that it is a sudden, it's a direct, and it's a violent attack on the body. A healthy human being can combat, a fairly healthy human being can combat the virus. But if there are any defects or deficiencies or weaknesses within the body, that is to say the organs or anything like that, the virus is it's almost like it was designed to seek out the defect in our bodies. That's what I'm getting. And I say that because of my experiences with it. Each time it has come through my household and through my body, it has come through differently, expressing itself differently. One time it started where, and this is TMI, me and every member in my family had literally 2 diarrhea attacks. That was it. It wasn't like a stomach flu or a virus that goes on for about 24, 48, 72 hours. No, it was literally 2. How was it? 2 diarrhea attacks for each one of us. And then it went into this this extreme headache. And it just set and stayed. And it kind of had us down. And then each time I've had it, or someone in my family's had it, it expressed itself differently. There were certain character traits that were consistent with each time, but then some of the symptoms changed. And the things that stayed consistent was the soreness in the back of the throat, and this headache stayed consistent. That was what was consistent. And then the next thing that was most consistent was the inability to breathe. So where was I going? Because I'm literally trying to go somewhere with this if I can get it out. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the coronavirus and its effects on the human body. So anyway, this when a person is exposed to the virus and it attacks the body, it is a direct, forceful, violent attack upon the human body, the immune system, etc., etc. And it, oh my God, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? It accelerates. It accelerates a defect or a deficiency in the body. Let me write the word acceleration. Because that's what it does. When I was watching one of the medical doctors here on YouTube that is dealing with the coronavirus right now, they were showing images that they acquired from some of the autopsies, and what they noticed was that a lot of people had blood clots. It's like pulmonary embolisms. And the blood clots appeared in the lungs and in other organs in which the coronavirus attacked. And those blood clots that I saw in those images, there were multiple blood clots. And I personally believe, again, I don't have no credentials, no accolades, no degrees, and I'm just talking about it from my perspective and what I'm experiencing, is that those blood clots occurred because of the accelerated mutations that were happening to the cells within the organs. That's to say, the cells were just being attacked. Pow, 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 pow. And now, mind you, what I need you to grasp is that we're talking about just the human body itself. A human body that, just a generic human body. And not knowing what's going on, meaning you ain't been to the doctor, you ain't been said to have any pre-existing conditions and nothing like that. It's just the human body. However, there still could be weaknesses in the body that exist genetically or through genetics or whatever, injury or something like that. My whole point is sometimes we have weaknesses in our bodies that we don't know of until we get old. We get old. It's obvious in those that have lived, that's older. It's obvious in those that have, medical conditions. It's obvious, but it's not obvious when a person is seemingly healthy. A seemingly healthy person still has just weaknesses and vulnerabilities within some of their bodies. And it's those areas, like this virus, again, seems to me was man-made and engineered to enter the body and seek out the weakness or vulnerability within a person's system, and to attack them there. Again, that attack is accelerated, meaning it's moving really, really, really fast. Because what? It was designed to do so. And I'll talk about that. I'm going to stop because I'm talking about that because of the conspiracy that there is supposed to be a depopulation plan. To me, this virus does seem like a move to depopulate the world. But it's not removing a lot of people, but it is removing some people. Some of what one may consider some that are narcissistic and have a sense of entitlement and supremacy may view as the weak links. You know, people that, you know, potentially would be a dead weight on the, like the healthcare industry. Just get away, don't do away with it. So I was doing all that to say, you know, it is somewhat of a depopulation plan. And if you're following this coronavirus and all the talk around it, they're saying, hey, there's no immunization for it. They don't presume that it'll be any what they call it, inoculation or immunization for it for at least a year. They have said, hey, people have said, hey, we got to get used to it because the presence of this virus is going to continue. It is a part of our norm now. How do we continue to live in this world with the continuous threat of being exposed to the coronavirus? You know what I'm saying? And so that right there lets us know that this virus was, you know, put into the population in order to continue to reduce the population. It almost seems like it's very managed, is what I'm saying. It's almost like it's managed. I have a concern that if my theory based on the stuff that I've been researching and what I've heard today is truly the case, which is to reduce the population, that the virus, of course, they would say mutated, but they would have to put a stronger strand out. And because the initial strand, look at the word, I have to watch what I say. The initial strand consumed whom it could consume. And those that were able to fight off that strand, but yet had barely survived that strand, the strand, barely. If they put out a new strand, is what I'm saying, to take it to another level, could consume more people. And they add another strand, and it's like just keep rotating the strand again. It's like it's managed. It's managed. Anywho, I'm going to try to move off that subject matter. Maybe I can make sense a little. Like, ooh, my glasses are filthy. Just a minute. Remember, this is a long live stream. I'm overly excited right now and still trying to digest what I've been told. So they targeting the weaker humans. Yes, they're targeting the weaker humans. And I think they're going to do it by, I don't know how, I wish I could speak, by levels. By levels. You know, the stronger your immune, the more likely you are to withstand it. But if they increase the strand and the strand comes back through, because they keep talking about that, then it'll, again, target the next level as far as a person's health. So only the strongest survive. Yeah, only the strongest will survive. And that's, I think, something that we're going to end up going into. So, yes, I'm trying to take a deep breath. I'm trying to stay calm. Okay, now, I talked about the secret message about what's going to occur, and now we're in it. Now, I just talked about the virus. What is I supposed to do now? Because this is a pandemic, and so I just kind of want to show you the plan. Right now, disclaimer, I am a cigarette smoker and I'm going to partake in my vices because I'm like the nutty philosopher, professor, all that kind of thing. And so I'm a little nervous right now. I'm just a little nervous right now. I'm going to just let that go right here. And okay, let me read what I have here. See if I can move through right now. The pandemic is the conversion tactic used to convert the dynamics of our world's social construct and infrastructure to include and be governed by our advancements in technology. Hopefully y'all understood that. Hopefully I wrote that right. What am I saying? I'm saying the pandemic, including the coronavirus, is the tactic used to cause the conversion from the dynamics, cause the conversion in the dynamics that make up our social construct and infrastructure. And in the end, it will include all of our advancements in technology. I said that earlier when I was talking about the secret message and referring back to the Great Depression of the 1930s. What we are dealing with and what we will deal with is planned. Now, let me see if I can expose or bring some receipts. Let's see. First thing I want you to look at is that there are, and we've talked about this, there are 15 head government agencies. We only going to hit on some of these government agencies, head government. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is because, remember, all of this is a plan. Number one strategy to move us from the, I'll say, the old paradigm into the new paradigm. The new paradigm, remember, reorganizes or restructures our world constructs, the infrastructure, as well as brings into account our advancements in technology, moving from the old paradigm into the new paradigm, just dealing with the Department of Agriculture. How have we gotten where we've gotten now? To the point where we are hearing that there is going to be food shortages. How have we gotten here? Well, what we are experiencing now is not the first time a move has been made on the world's food population, food supply. This is not the first time. There's been a ongoing strategy to get us where we are and where we're headed, and there's a reason. And so right now, that's what I'm going to try to cover. U.S. Department of Agriculture. One of the first strategies that was initiated was the takeover. Let me read. Don't look. It was the, oh Lord. It was, we could say, big corporations move to outperform and take over the traditional farmer. Think about it. When was the first time you heard about Monsanto and excuse me, big corporations and labs taking over farmers' crops and poisoning farmers' crops? This has been some years now that this has been going on. Those farmers, the traditional farmers, have been battling these big businesses and big corporations in court for a couple of decades now. Remember, this has been strategic. This is a pandemic. It's all strategic. Okay. Then I ask you, why did these corporations and big businesses move to outperform and take over traditional farmers? Why? This is a pandemic. It is because they were moving to do what? Just like during the 1930s, during that Great Depression, they have been moving to monopolize the agricultural industry. Okay, strategy. Still dealing with the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the strategies that have been used to move us into the new paradigm living is, do you remember, now which one should I do? Mad cow's disease, bird flu, E. coli in the meat and vegetables. You had us scared to eat romaine lettuce, spinach. Every time you turn around, it was something. And why was that? Was it possible? All of that happened to lead the population to fear the food supply? So that we wouldn't trust the farmers? Is it possible? Is it so that we wouldn't want to consume the food supply, the world's food supply? We're talking about the strategies that have been executed along the way, because this is a pandemic that is moving us from the old paradigm into the new paradigm. I'm hoping I'm making this make sense. Still dealing with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. What about weather manipulation? Which leads to what? Failed crops. And if it ain't failed crops due to droughts, then it is failed droughts due to flooding and or the drowning of cattle. All of these things have happened. It's a strategy. And last but not least, what I have on my list as another strategy, and as far as I am aware of, the most recent strategy to do what? Destabilize the industry of agriculture so that it can be what? Revised for the new paradigm, or in our way of our new paradigm, is the deportation of immigrants. Do y'all remember that? Just a few years ago, when all the immigrants were deported. And because the immigrants who were the primary workers on the various farms were deported, there was no one there to harvest the crops. And so there weren't enough workers to harvest the crops, which led to setbacks. Setbacks in what? The harvesting of the crops, and therefore the distribution to the population of those crops. That in turn led to food prices before. Am I stopped? See, I can't see this, what is going on here. Before and during the 1930s, the Great Depression of the 1930s. Y'all, if y'all can immediately, when you see this mother sucker stop, say stop. Just put a stop sign up. Y'all find a stop sign. When I see stop sign, that means don't even speak, because it's messing up my live. So the conversion. Why? Why are they doing this? Why are the people in power doing this? Well, we do know that we're moving from the old paradigm to the new paradigm, as I keep saying. And the new paradigm consists of a particular way they expect us to live, and it also takes into consideration the advancements in technology. Yes, there is a interference. Yeah, I'm seeing it. But the way they got this new board, maybe I can do this. Nope, they won't. I can't make this smaller. Can I? Let me go here. Nope. Why? They control everything. They control everything. That makes me mad. I'm gonna try to do it like that. Okay. Please like, share, and if you haven't already, subscribe. So the conversion. Why the conversion? The dietary change. A dietary change is mandatory. Talking about agriculture. Agriculture is what? The world's food supply. Our food supply. There is a dietary change that is mandatory because of our reduction in physical activity. Ride this wave with me. If we are now, this is the onset. If we are now quarantined, we are limited and restricted from outdoors activities and commuting. If we are sitting in the house and we're online, partaking in online activities, again, there's a decrease in our physical activity. If we are sleeping longer hours, and if we are sitting longer hours, then guess what? There is not a need for a high calorie intake. As a fat person, that was one of the first things I learned early on, is if you don't move around, you don't need the calories. You need calories because the calories are what you use that are converted into energy to give you the energy to move through the day to do what you got to do. But once you ain't got to move, once your movement is limited and restricted, there's no use for a high calorie take. So our conversion from the old paradigm, when we were getting up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning to get out, to go to work, to go to the schools, to go to the gyms, etc., is no more. We're moving into the new paradigm. And new paradigm living thus far has us sitting at home, shopping online, walking only the perimeters of our community, our homes and community, etc. We are sleeping more hours, sitting up longer hours, etc. This is also a regimen that can lead to a weaker body, leading to what? Blood clots. So be careful. Walk your stairs, walk around your house, do a couple more laps. Anyway, what am I saying? I'm saying that this is a pandemic. Everything that has happened in the agriculture industry has happened intentionally. Everything from deporting the immigrants and the crops being left. Everything from the weather manipulation that caused droughting or flooding to destroy crops and cattle. Everything from, what else we covered as far as that? All of the diseases and viruses associated with our food supply have all been intentional in order to lead us. Oh, okay. Seemed like it stopped from my perspective. To not want our food supply, to cause us to mentally, they try working on our minds to mentally be appalled at partaking in our food supply. And it was intentional because it's a plan. So the plan was to help them more easily facilitate a dietary change to the population. Because what? We don't need as much food. Because we don't need as much energy. Because we ain't going nowhere. It's all intentional. Now, the reason and purpose taken further for this conversion. The new paradigm living consists of the majority of the population living day to day within the perimeters of their own communities. Most works and activities are executed online over the internet. So again, we don't need as much food. So I say that because the reality is there is no food shortage. The food shortage and or scarcity and or higher prices are directly related to our new paradigm living. Okay, that was the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The next branch of government we're going to visit is the U.S. Department of Commerce. U.S. Department of Commerce. And so that's the exchange of what? Services and goods amongst the population, or however that is defined. So the strategies. What strategies have been executed to move us from the end? Because this is all a pandemic. Now, every branch of government or industry is to desensitize the people, the population. One way that I know they have desensitized the population is through the government, stores, malls, etc. Every time we turned around, some business that we patronized was closing. Some of the jobs that we held closed overnight without warning even the employees. All of this is directly related to moving us from the old paradigm into the new paradigm. Another strategy that existed that you may have missed is how delinquent accounts a person's delinquent accounts were called due by the private lending institutions, and even garnishments were executed before this whole pandemic that occurred began to occur maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. That all of a sudden they were garnishing people money, taking their money, swiping it out their bank accounts and everything. Censor your words because the AI is picking it up. I can tell. I see my concurrent viewers are dropping. I can't possibly be that boring that my viewership never goes up. That's impossible. But okay, cheers. And I would love to censor my words, but how can I? How can I? I be trying so hard. So those are the strategies that have been used that I can think of to facilitate the movement from the old paradigm, our old way of living, into the new paradigm, and how we new paradigm living will be. What am I saying? I'm talking about in the old paradigm, we got to literally go up. Oh, maybe I need to do this. The conversion. See, I'm trying. The conversion. What am I talking about? I'm still dealing with comments. Now we're talking about the conversion from the old paradigm to the new paradigm. Conversion. Once necessary travel for shopping or acquiring any desired good or services has been restricted. There was a time that we got in our car or on public transportation, took our walk, rode a bike, whatever, to go to whatever service or business, to patronize them, to buy our desired goods, etc., etc. That was the old way. Going to the malls, hanging out all day, that was the old way. Now, as mentioned, you got to look back at the COVID-19 and how it stopped all of that. It was like the last phase to push or usher us into the new paradigm. Why? Because we were still enjoying going to the mall. We was getting upset when our local malls closed, when all the stores around us closed. We were getting very upset. So they had to go ahead and push us over, rush us over into the new paradigm, a new paradigm living. And so, anyway, I'll be getting off conversion, talking about comments. The once necessary travel for shopping and acquiring any desired good or service is now restricted by closing physical locations, the absence of money needed to participate in the social market. What am I saying there? I'm saying, hey, when people couldn't go to work anymore for one reason or another, they didn't have the money to even get out to anything that was or remained open. So it just stopped physical commerce. We can say physical shopping, going to the show, going to the mall. It stopped all of that. And we saw directly associated with that is a growth in unemployment. Even the unemployment is a strategic plan that converts us from the old paradigm into the new paradigm. In the new paradigm, we will be living a new way. I coined it new paradigm living. And I'm going to go into that in a minute. So anyway, still dealing with comments. Why? What's the reason? What's the purpose? Hi, Dial. Hey, Annie Fly. Glad to catch you live. I'm so happy you have caught me live. Hi, Josh. How you doing? Haven't seen you in a minute. Well, new paradigm living consists of the population accessing and acquiring desired goods and services online. It's called e-commerce. E-commerce is in Wikipedia, Google. It's a real thing. E-commerce. That such places as Amazon and eBay are, their services are going through the roof. At this time, I have to say, give the disclaimer that I hold no credentials, no accreditations, no accolades or anything in financing, management, whatever, stocks, bonds, anything. But it seems to me that Amazon and eBay are a great place, or other places that are quite like that are a great place to invest your money right now. Let me stop. Going back, referring to history, to the Depression of the 1930s. That was also a time period in which we can say the market opened up to those that could see. But many people didn't have the money needed in order to invest in the future of the United States, back then. Today, it's the exact same thing. This is a fresh new market, we can say. And if you know where to invest, you can become very wealthy in this new paradigm. If you have the finances and the insight, if you have the finances to invest and the insight to see, this is the prime time to invest in the future of the future of the world, because this is a global thing. So what am I saying? Well, just now I was just talking about the United States Department of Commerce, which is basically about shopping. It's about trading, the trading of goods and services, and how we used to be able to go out and move out around and about to access those things. But the new paradigm that we have been ushered into does not call for us to go out of our homes. All it asks us to do is sit at home on our phones, our smartphones, our devices, laptops, etc., whatever you have, and to make all your purchases. I say it's scary time. I guess I said the wrong word. When you understand that, this is a make or break period. This is a make or break period. And when I say make or break, I'm talking about as far as finances. It's make or break in our private lives. Now I have to talk about one of the last live streams that I made, in which I talked about the research that I did, and I can't even remember what I was looking at, and I don't have those notes. I would have to find those notes, but let's see if I can give you the basics. The unemployment rate, how do you say it? The unemployment rate, is intentional. The stimulus packages that have been released and will be released are intentional. They're all a part of the plan. There's a bigger agenda behind all of it. I quoted somebody in the video, and that quote was something like this. It says, hey, don't be too anxious to pull back the stimulus. It says, feed them the stimulus, because this is an optimal time to stop the stimulus and to push the people back to work and to open everything back up. That's not verbatim, y'all, but it was something like that. It's strategic. It's planning. It's playing. See, I got to figure out how to work this in here, because it works really, really well right now. I went to the shops today, and they were only taking cards and no cash. Exactly. Okay. You jumping ahead of me, but exactly. Because let me stop. I might as well go and address it. I don't know what U.S. government department would that be under. Economics. Camille. Camille says, I went to the shops today and they were only taking cards and no cash. And so remember, we're visiting the various head agencies over our world that create our world construct. And one of them, if I'm not mistaken, is the U.S. Department of Economics or Finances or something like that. Let me see. I was just trying to get the official name of the branch. Anyway, we're just gonna ride a wave and pretend I know what I'm talking about. Anyway, back to Camille and what she has shared about visiting the shops and how they aren't accepting cash. They are only accepting, where was I at? I done lost myself. Accepting credit cards. Well, and we've talked about e-commerce being converted to e-commerce, right? Is we have to remember cryptocurrency and the onset of that. What do they call it? Cryptocurrency. It started with Bitcoin and stuff like that. Will Bitcoin stand? I don't know. Will there be another company that comes out, or a corporation that comes out? I know it's supposed to be independent, but it's some type of central company that has to be ahead, or a corporation that has to be ahead over it, or a banking system or something that has to be over the management of people's funds. Whether they work for them or they're distributed from the government. It has to be. So anyway, what am I talking about? Businesses not accepting cash, but only credit cards is a sign of the conversion that's taking place. Remember, we're moving from the old paradigm into the new paradigm. And the new paradigm, we will be dealing with cryptocurrency. Even a credit card is encrypted currency. You know what I'm saying? It's also an encrypted form of currency. That's a whole nother video. I don't even know if I did that video. I did it. I don't know if I published it. That's another thing and we have to talk about that. Everything from the fear of let's go ahead and go into it a little bit, even though I haven't written any notes about it. We're talking about the U.S. Department of the economy or finances, however it is labeled. Remember, there has been strategies that have been executed in order to move us from the old paradigm into the new paradigm. The old paradigm consisted of us having money, those greenbacks, and we could do anything we wanted with those greenbacks that was within our means, and it was not our dealings were not regulated or could not be seen by the powers that be. Example, if you wanted to go buy drugs, they didn't know you bought drugs. If you wanted to buy alcohol, they didn't know you bought alcohol. If you wanted to go trick, they didn't know you was tricking. They didn't know you was off doing your deviant thing. But when credit cards came in, the conversion, banks, credit cards came in, now they began to be able to track what you were doing. However, there still existed the greenbacks, the money. So when you went to do your deviant stuff, you just used the greenbacks. When you went to go do your legit stuff, you used the credit cards, the financing, and all those kind of things. They still couldn't keep track of what you were doing. Now, we're moving into the new paradigm, the conversion. I got to talk about the conversion. So what they end up doing is saying, hey, we're going to give y'all all this money. Pay attention to what's going on now. We're going to give you all this money, all of this money. And remember, money is supposed to be backed by the natural resources. They always talk about how money is backed by gold. Money is backed by all resources. Okay, but if they want to just put it on gold, that's fine. Gold. So what they end up starting to say is like, hey, they're printing more money than there is gold to back the money. So the money don't have no value. We the people just accept that money is the value that it says on its face, and we keep it moving. But in the bigger scheme of things, on a global scale, our money does not have any backing that is equivalent to it. So it's been this big thing about our money not having the resources to back it. This constant scare. Now pay attention. How can I say this? If we already, in the United States, if we already did not have enough gold to back our money, meaning it is not equivalent, we print more money than we have gold, the value. We print more money and its value exceeds the amount of gold we have to back it. I hope I made them say that right. Our money really doesn't have any value. It was already the case, right? And now all of a sudden, due to this pandemic, all of a sudden there are $1 trillion stimulus packages coming out. This is conversion. UPS. Oh, that's a whole nother thing I had to talk about. I'm gonna stop. Okay, I'm gonna finish my thought and then talk about UPS. I got to. I can't help it. What UPS? What's that? FedEx. What's the other one? Okay. This thing like the heat done went up. They trying to microwave me. Please like, share. If you haven't already, subscribe. And thank you for being at home with me. Please support. Okay, what was I talking about? My mind goes everywhere. Oh, shops, money, conversion. So now we've already been living, we can say, above our means, especially in the United States. Meaning what? There is not enough resources backing our money, our paper money. Now the time period comes that requires, it pushes for, it demands that more money be printed and handed out to the population in order to offset the difficulties brought on by this pandemic. So that's trillions more dollars that have been printed and distributed to the population that does not have the backing of natural resources with a primary focus on gold. Therefore, that suggests that the dollar does lose completely its value. That's no different than what occurred back in the 1930s during the Great Depression, when the value of the dollar fell out from up under it. Same thing. So what happens when that happens? What happens when that transpires? Well, you have to initiate a new means in which to distribute the natural resources or the life-sustaining resources to the world's population. How do you do that? This is a plan. Is to implement and execute cryptocurrency. Am I off or on? Cryptocurrency. Okay? Some form of cryptocurrency. So that's moving from the old paradigm into new paradigm. New paradigm living in cryptocurrency suggests then that every purchase that we make will be trackable. Bottom line. There will be no more paper money. It will only be, paper money only will be worthy of wiping one's theory error. Okay. And we've already seen that too in other countries where the people had so much time to hand their money in to get a percentage of it back in a new currency. We already seen that. Okay. All right. I wanted to go back. We talked about e-commerce. And I want to talk about something that's really not sustainable and where we're going to also see another change. The other change will be, can I please get a like, y'all? I got one like. Right now, 7 people in the room. I would really appreciate some likes. I really appreciate that. E-commerce. Ordering things online. Accessing various online stores with a primary focus on the big ones like Walmart, eBay, Amazon, all those wonderful places. You know, those things have to be delivered to us. Many of them offer what? Free delivery if you spend over whatever amount, $35 in some places, $50 in others, etc., etc. And so what I've noticed, is this increased traffic flow of delivery trucks in my area. And I'm sure, thank you for the light. And I'm sure my location, my area is not the only one that is experiencing increased deliveries. I don't know. What's the name of the delivery truck? FedEx. It's the Standard Mail Service. U.S. Postal Service. It's the, what's the name of that place? UPS. It is Amazon Prime. All of them are constantly delivering. It's a beautiful thing. You order it, within a week, it's at your front door. But I'm telling you something, that system is not sustainable. I repeat, that system is not sustainable. It will be revised. It will be revised. On my block, I watch the UPS truck come multiple times a day. On my block, I watch Amazon Prime come multiple times a day. On my block, I watch FedEx come multiple times a day. And then on my block, I watch the U.S. Postal Service come at least once a day. All bearing the orders, all bearing in the items that somebody has ordered, right? And my point of saying that is that there's no way they can keep up with the demand of us ordering at the rate we are now ordering, since e-commerce is the trending thing now, or the new way to live. There has to be a revision plan already in place, being made, in order to make that system more effective. That is to say, they may start to say, we'll deliver in your area every 2 weeks or once a month, because there's no way they can just keep coming out day after day. I mean, I've gotten everything from little packages like this, little tiny packages with maybe 6 inches by 6 inches. They drove a whole big truck here to drop off a little package of drill bits. That doesn't make any sense. So I'm just saying that that's not sustainable. We will see a change in that. And I also believe that they're hiring, I don't know this for certain, but each company is hiring like contractors to help pick up the load because it's so heavy. Oh, I guess the sky is clear. It was raining and everybody getting noisy. But I'm going to chill out. I'm going to chillax because they doing their thing and I'm doing my thing. Anyway, I have here a note that talks, still dealing with e-commerce. It's the rise and normalization of e-commerce. What am I saying? I'm saying that all of this online shopping, ordering, and delivery is the rise and normalization of e-commerce. E-commerce is a new paradigm living way. Now, what are we doing in this live stream? I'm talking about how everything that we're experiencing is a part of a pandemic. You say, so now we are really rising and raising the issue of the market of beasts. We are. I personally believe the market of beasts is something else, but I get it that the cryptocurrency can be viewed as the market of beasts, or our buying system, our trade system, our karmic system is a market of beasts. But again, I think it's something else, and I got a video about that. It's called 144,000 for Dummies. If you can find that. Again, that video is called 144,000 for Dummies. The next department I want to talk about is the U.S. Department of Education. And remember, again, this is all a plan. The pandemic was just the catalyst to expedite our move from the old paradigm into the new paradigm. And so there's been a conversion that has taken place relative to in the Department of Education. But before the conversion, there were strategies that were put into place in order to make it easier for the people to accept the change that would be taking place, that is taking place, and that will be in place. So let's talk about some of the strategies when it comes to education. One thing that existed, especially in the urban area, is that there was that the schools, oh please go around the block, the schools were failing. Schools, different schools, especially in the urban area, were receiving grades like F's overall. That is to say, the students were not learning or weren't being taught in a manner in which they could receive the lesson. They were failing. Another strategy, primarily with a primary focus on urban schools or inner city schools, is the schools had very poor environments. The schools looked institutionalized, somewhat like jails, with gray paints, no decorations. There was a removal of what you call it, extracurricular activities like sports and arts and different things like that. There was, they claimed there wasn't enough funding for even for special education services, et cetera, et cetera. The second strategy that I am aware of was, and this is in relationship to the suburban areas. The strategy was that of mass shootings, MASS, mass shootings. Seemed like it mostly happened in the suburban areas, where the people in the suburban areas may have been more active when it came to gun laws and things like that. And that's what we really, when these type of events occurred, we were looking at them, like they're trying to manipulate, votes relative to gun laws and things like that. But there was, and that's true, but there was also an alternate agenda, and that was to change people's perception of school and kids leaving home out the safety of their home to go to the schools where they were left vulnerable and susceptible to whatever would occur. And the last strategy that I could think of to turn people against formal education and again, moving from the safety of one's house into the school buildings and campuses and things like that, was very, very high college tuitions. Everybody doing their thing. I'm a mentally based person. I'm tripping, y'all, because I get frustrated when I'm on here. I already can't talk. But I'm a mental based person, so the activities that I partake in are, of the mind, where other people's activities are more physical, outdoorsy. And so I got to accept those people in my environment and let them do them, and I got to do me. We are co-creators. Go on and turn the corner and hit the road, Jack. Skeet off. Skirt off, whatever it's called. And so we found that the college tuitions were increasing. And then if you wanted your children to have at least think they have a better education, then you could pay to go to like private schools and things like that, and those tuitions were very high as well. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the strategies that have been implemented just in the Department of Education to turn the populace against education, to help the powers that be more easily be able to execute the changes that they want in that department, which is education. So the conversion is to change. Change has what the conversion. Still talking about education. Change to how education is delivered. That's what the government wanted to do. The people in power wanted to do. They wanted to change how education is delivered to students. And what that change, that conversion from the old way. Let's talk about the old way. What was the old way? students. They left the safety of their own homes and they went off and they traveled, or commuted to the school and the school campus in order to be educated by the instructor in a physical location, right? So they converted that, and the conversion took place. They went through these very strategic strategies to get us to the place where we will be willing to accept the change and how education is delivered to the students. And why, so this conversion that is taking place, what does it lead to? Well, it leads to the cut in cost to education and educational funds. Because you remember that our government has a budget, and each department or construct that creates our overall social construct is funded by the government. And if students, if young adults no longer leave the sanctity of their homes to go to a physical location, that physical location, the schoolhouse, must be maintained. It must have all the furnishings, etc., that's related with education. It has to have all the teachers, etc., that have to be paid. Then, there is higher educational cost in the old way of doing it. But the new way, new paradigm living, says, hey, we can cut costs in the Department of Education. We can cut those funds. We don't have to pay for physical location. We don't have to pay for the maintenance of a physical location. We don't have to provide the furnishings to a physical location. We don't have to keep maintaining or upgrading or rebuying the furnishings for the facilities. We don't have to keep paying teachers. We don't have to keep bringing in teachers, etc. Gotta stop there. What am I talking? Right? What interject right here? I'm about to interject that the internet, we talked about this, is a collection of the world's, the population of the world's consciousness and intelligence. What am I saying? I'm saying that with the right programming, an online school curriculum can be created for any age bracket that students can access at a lower cost than having the students go into a physical school. Hopefully that makes sense. I hope I said that right. But if I didn't, I'm going to try to say it again. It's much cheaper to have students learn online, students learn online, than it is for them to go into a physical location and learn by a real teacher. So this is what's happening as far as conversion. How about this conversion is occurring in order to execute online education as the norm. It has already taken place as a direct result of this pandemic that we're going through. The students in my location have been offered, I think, free internet access, or at least reasonably priced internet access, laptops free, so that they can sign on and have their lessons online at home in order to finish up the school year. A video that I saw the other day talked about how some university has decided that the remainder of the school year will be done online, as well as the upcoming school year will be done online. So what am I saying? I'm saying this new paradigm living is online education, and online education becoming the norm. Remember, there has been strategic strategies put in place to get us to where we are. In my location, schools have been closing for years, never to reopen. In my location, there were schools that were newly built, brand new, that closed within a year or two, never to be opened again. This has been a strategic move, a plan to move us into the new paradigm. Let's see. Still talking about education. It says, I have the note here, to establish the next generation. I need y'all to listen to this. To establish the next generation of undereducated people, as well as the next generation of sheeple, and to create a zip line to those students that have a natural potential to excel. What am I saying? The changes that are being made to the delivery of education will result in three things as far as the students. Number one, there will be a higher dropout rate. There will be an increase in undereducated or uneducated students or people. Why is that? If education is administered or delivered or taught online, there are going to be students that don't get it, get frustrated, won't log on, won't go on. You have to be, what do you call it, self-motivated to move through a curriculum, an online curriculum, self-motivated, and also very disciplined. And the people, the powers that be, know that. So there will be an increased amount of undereducated people. The next, because people will be undereducated or uneducated, they're going to be more susceptible to the suggestions of those that hold power, creating the next generation of sheeple, or those that follow the status quo or the rules and regulations set up by the powers that be. And then there is this positive aspect to online schooling. It is that it is for a particular grouping of students. And these students are those that are born with a natural ability to excel. They have the self-discipline. They have the focus. It just comes from within. And they are the students that will log on. They are the students that will comprehend. They are the students that will succeed. They will excel, and they will advance and be beneficial to the new world construct. And they will be the ones that take the jobs and the seats of power in the future. So that's what the changes to education will be. What the conversion brings about. Okay. Now, I'll tell you the right, y'all. Hopefully y'all get ride away with me. This is an online discussion, and it's also a study session. Now, remember I said I hadn't heard no messages about what's taking place until today. And today, I heard that, yes, Nancy, this is a pandemic. And then all that I just shared with you came flooding to me, came flooding in. I said, I get it. I understand that the pandemic was the catalyst to usher in the new paradigm. It's all been a plan. This plan has been in its process for years. I can look back over my life and I can say when I saw my school district fall. So the plan has been in motion for some years. I can look back over my life and see the rise and fall of businesses, etc., etc. This is a plan. And believe it or not, where we sit today is a plan that is at least 50 years. in its progression. I guess is the right word. 50 years. I'm 50 years old. And there's some things I can refer back to my mom. So I'm going to say at least 50 years strong. All of this has been planned. What am I saying? Hitting a brick wall. So much activity going on. Please like, share, and if you haven't already, subscribe. I guess the one thing that there's a couple of things that I want you to be aware of, that I want you to take away from this live stream. Is one, that this is planned. All of this. Oh, I know what I need to talk about. They throwing me off. What I need to talk about, and I did talk about in another live stream. Oh, I'm going to just smoke a cigarette. They can just get on my nerves, make my nerves bad. Shut up. I'm all that pain on noise. See, noise is a disturbance to a thinker. I'm a thinker. So, what I need to talk about now is, because I almost forgot, is, God dang if I ain't forget. I have to sit here for a minute and remember, because it's a part of this live stream. God dang if they ain't make me forget. I said I was going to write a note. But I had to go back over it, y'all, in order to ride the wave. Yes, you are. I think it could be a riding the wave with me. I see the little surfers. This is important. This is a part of this live stream, this subject matter, these topics. I can't leave this out. I almost did, but I can't leave it out. So I'm just about to meditate here because I must remember it. What I want you to take away from this video is to understand that it is not random. None of this is random. It's all planned. I could say at least 50 years. It's really, really important. It really, really goes with this. I'm not done with my live stream, so I may think of it, but I'm going to try to think of it right now, because right now is the time for me to interject it. God dang. Okay, I'll go back over. I talked about the secret message that had to do with humanity reliving the Great Depression. Actually going through a Great Depression that is greater than the Depression of the 1930s. I talked about the different parallel, how you can parallel the Great Depression to what we are going through and will go through, to get an idea of what we're going to go through. Another thing that I've heard, and I talked about last year, when K.I. West, whatever his name is, came out with that song, Lord is King, King is Jesus, or whatever it was. How I told y'all that was a speech, and he told us it's about to be an opportune time to invest in real estate. Just recently, I was watching a video of a realtor and an accountant, I think he is. I can't remember. And he was talking about this prime time for real estate. It's going to be a prime time for real estate. I don't know if it's right this moment. I would have to dive into that right there. And that's what I was saying. I'm afraid, because I'm not a person that dives deeply into anything. I'm always surface level. I know what's going on, but I never dive too deep. And I'm going to back up from that, because I'm going to go into complaining. Hurt heart. I'm going to complain. I don't want to do that. So, you know, this is a great time to invest, to prepare to invest. And it's not just now. It's not just now. There's a time, remember, we're just entering into the new paradigm. We've taken like maybe 3 steps into the new paradigm. Just 2 or 3 steps into the new paradigm. As we progress, we're going to go to some difficulties. I think this might be what I forgot. We're going to go through some difficulties. What we're dealing with now, everything from, you know, the high unemployment rate, the sudden high unemployment rate, all of this distribution of these various stimulus packages that's in the trillions of dollars that we will never be able to recover from, is creating our future. I said it in the last slide, is what do you call it? Spontaneous. What's the word? Spontaneous. Everything that's happening is sudden. It wasn't anticipated. Yes, it is. It is intentional. See, they gave us the pandemic, the virus, for a couple of reasons. One was to depopulize the population, decrease the population. Ebenezer Scrooge, decrease the population, taking out the weakest links. The other thing is to give us something to focus on, to be afraid of, to have a physical threat right there. While they may make the transition or the conversion from the old paradigm into the new paradigm. The way they made the conversion from the old paradigm into the new paradigm is what is going to be the excuse to why in our future there's going to be extremely high taxation. Extremely high taxation. Today I saw the statement. Where's it at? I might throw it away. Threw it away. Extremely high taxation. Because it was saying, what's the words? I threw it away. Oops. Why did I sit it somewhere else? Extremely high taxation. What was the word? Help me, right? Extremely high taxation. Oh, that a stimulus package is merely an advancement in a tax credit. Hi, 1, 2. Oh, come on, camera. I'm sorry that it's supposed to be autocorrect or autofocus, maybe to refocus. So I repeat. A stimulus package is merely the advanced tax credit. If a stimulus package is merely an advancement of a tax credit, that suggests that this tax, that the credit has to be repaid in some way. And I'm not an expert. Here's another what do you call it? You know what I'm talking about. I don't have any accolades, credentials, degrees, no certifications in accounting, finances, or nothing like that. Just me talking to you, sharing with you from the perspective in which I'm perceiving and comprehending things. But that suggests to me then that we who, the population, is going to have to pay back this money somehow. How are we going to pay it back? We're going to pay it back with major cuts to the various programs that exist, such as why is my camera going straight now or what? I don't have no more coffee. Here we are. We're going to have to pay it back one way or another. And the next generation and the next generation are already enslaved to our system through what's happening now. We got to pay this $1 trillion back. Even though there's no rational way we could ever pay these trillions of dollars back. The powers that be know that we cannot pay these trillions and trillions of dollars back. Therefore, we are enslaved. Where are we going to go? Anyway, we belong to this planet. We are part of this planet. Where are we going? So, in the future, the ways that we will be paying these stimulus packages back is through high taxation, it said it would be more difficult to receive loans and financing. So the stipulations are going to be tight. The criteria is going to be tight. The collateral that you have to put up in order to get a loan or financing will be extremely high. Right now, it's low. They got us in a desperate state, a scared state. In the future, we're going to have to pay these trillions and trillions of dollars back. How are they going to get it from us? I was told that you can't, squeeze blood out of a turnip, but they going to do it. They going to do it. So how are we going to pay them back? Well, we just talked about how it's going to be high taxation. It's going to be hard to get loans and financing. Your collateral going to have to be astronomical to get it, which also talks about a credit rating as well. Lower incomes, and that the lower income is a major one because it talked about, and I can't remember the statement, but it's saying that people won't be able to access as much money in order to acquire the lifestyle that they want. You know, like the fashionistas like to shop. People want the flyest cars. All of this that we're going through right now is intentional to get us to a place in the future where we won't be able to live our best lives. The lifestyles that we see ourselves living. That is to say, to buy those luxurious clothes or those shoes, or I'm talking about the things that we take for granted now. You know, living our best lives. It keeps people from doing that. And just being able to focus on the necessities of life. That's our future. We're going to pay it back. We're going to pay these trillions and trillions of dollars back. How are we going to pay them back? It also said that, what else it said? There's going to be cuts to various programs. Everything from the Department of Human Services, like, and I guess it's separate. Department of Human Services, HUD, food assistance, all of those will take drastic cuts in the future. But we know this because there's been strategic plans put in place, tactics put in place along the way. We just can't see them because they stretch them out so thin. They stretched them out at least over 50 years. And so we're not seeing where it's taking us. These stimulus checks are pushing us into another slave state. And once in the slave state, because we're indebted to what? Sustaining the social structure that's helping to sustain, that's helping to distribute the natural resources to us to help sustain our lives. We're indebted. We will feel eager and desperate in some way to help maintain whatever social structure is put in place, because we will need that social structure to be in place to make sure that we do what? Get the life-sustaining resources that we need, right, to sustain our lives and those up under our care. But we will pay the trillions and trillions of dollars back. I was gonna say, it was different ways that we're gonna pay it back. What else to say? How we gonna pay it back? Wholesale prices. Remember, I was saying wholesale prices was one of them. The wholesale prices is going to go through the roof. Wholesale prices will go through the roof. So buying in bulk will be very, very difficult for many. Meaning you'll just what? Have the bare necessities. How else they say it's going to be the cuts. It's going to be a lot of cuts. See, that's something that a person has to go into to dive deep to understand the cuts. The cuts will be also we've heard about it, to, what is it, Social Security, that people work and pay into over the course of their work career. You know, there's going to be cuts there. Noise. There's going to be many, many cuts. We're going to pay for that. We're going to pay these trillions and trillions of dollars back. There was something else. There was something else. Anywho, what I'm about to do now, why I think, because this is a long live stream, I want to visit another department. Remember, we're moving from the old paradigm into the new paradigm. This move from the old paradigm into the new paradigm has been progressing for at least 50 years. Relative to the Department of Energy, what did the old paradigm look like? Well, the old paradigm looked like our traditional lights and gas, water, however your utilities were delivered. Back in the day, and I got a video about that, the transition from the way utilities were distributed, as well as how we paid for them, until this new stream of how energy is distributed that we're moving into. What am I saying? I'm saying there used to be a time when you turned on the TV, you could get TV. Then a time period came that you had to buy a converter box or a cable. Now we got the smart TVs or the Roku or whatever else in order to access TV. Lights and gas. Lights. What was the change? I noticed over the years the various light company. I'm sorry, y'all. The noises is throwing me off. The light company has changed and transitioned. What is going on with this thing? Multiple times over the course of my life. Recently, what was I gonna say? I forgot. God dang it. Well, I know that the utility company came out in the city of Detroit, and they dug up every single lot's yard, and they made new cables and these big yellow cords, and they put in the smart meters. Yeah, to smart cities, the building of the smart cities, right? And so we're talking about the U.S. Department of Energy, where it used to be that each utility was on its own line, and a physical person had to come out to visit a physical site or your home to disconnect you or connect you or to service you for whatever other reason you needed service. All of that is now remote. They can cut you on, cut you off, do whatever, do what they call it, checks and everything remotely. That has been the conversion that has taken place when it has to do with the distribution of energy. And so in the new, as we went through this conversion, there were different strategies put in place, and I talked about different strategies that have occurred. I have watched systematic outages occur over at least a 15-year. My son 30, so no, he 30, so at least 22 years I've watched the systematic outages occur. Some of them were nationwide. Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm going back down memory lane right now. I would really like another cup of coffee. Hey, my house so quiet. It's unbelievable. Something might be wrong. I don't know. I guess they just staying out my way. Strategies. The strategies that existed. Number one, it was the what it was called, the changeover or the revisions to how energy is being distributed. That was one of the strategies. The next strategy was the systematic, again, outages. And it was like different grids of the city that would go out. And other times it would be the whole thing at one time. And so, again, these are to move us from the old paradigm into the new paradigm. Another strategy was the introduction and implementation of energy saving appliances. What they call it, Energy Star, something like that. Energy saving appliances, energy saving light bulbs. Regular old traditional light bulbs have been outdated for these energy savers that are very, very dim, and they bought a spirit into make a cup of coffee so you don't get a headache. You know what? That's one thing I don't get is headaches. That's why when I had that stuff, I was like, oh no, this is not going to work. because that was a primary symptom, was the headache. It was horrible. And so the energy saving light bulbs brought a spirit in here, into the world that the world was not familiar with. It was a very dark, heavy spirit. That's a whole nother video, because I know I could do an hour on that easy, because I went around rebuking the spirits that came in at that time. Everybody think I'm crazy, but they also know I'm very true, very real. Strategic plans to move us from the old paradigm into the new paradigm when it has to do with the energy. Another thing that happened, other than the energy saving appliances and light bulbs, it was also this is a very, very old strategy in which they, when I say they, I'm talking about the powers of be, ruled that especially in the urban area, no wells could be dug, and for a person to access their own water supply. These are all strategies to move us into the new paradigm. So, and during the transition, the conversion, it also was a time period in which this is the onset of solar power energy and wind powered energy, when they were trying to raise the funding in order to build those tools, the windmill and the solar panels, where they came around to people's houses and asked us, the people, to sign up for the program. And when you signed up for the program, the amount you paid for your utilities was increased by 5 cents or whatever it was per unit, and it was all to help facilitate the manufacturing of these alternate energy sources. And we were promised at that time that when these energy sources were up and running, that our bills would be halted and our bills would be the price they were then now. I haven't seen anything about it. I talked about it before, and how I got to reach out to the FCC, the BBB, and everything else to find out where's my savings at. You know what I'm saying? Why is my bill constantly going up? When I joined that program and I paid them extra few cents per units in order to be a part of this energy renaissance. I ain't seen it, but they came out and they did that, and they built the solar panels. They built fields of solar panels. They built planes of wind vines. I think it's called wind vines. They built them. So we have this alternative energy source available now. No savings to me, and I'm that invested. Electrical bills, our utility bills are very, very high. Again, we are being told that there's a scarcity of I don't know where it stopped at. I just know it stopped. Anyway, error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, if you with it, I don't know what that is. Okay, whatever. So, the new paradigm has us believing that there's a scarcity to when it has to do with energy and distribution of energy. It's all a damn scamdemic. It's a scam. We got a new word. Thank you, Camille. Camille has submitted a new term, a scamdemic. Right, it was a scamdemic all along. And so now these alternative energy sources are up, active, and running. Again, there are people that invested in them are not receiving a savings. I'm sure. I haven't heard anything about it. And anywho, now they're saying in new paradigm living that we have to let's say reduce, excuse me, we have to reduce licorice. our usage. Reduce our usage. And again, we just entered into the new paradigm, so we have not seen the full effects on what that means. But we can assume that because they've laid these remote controls to our utilities, that when the time comes, that they will impose and enforce limitations upon our usage of utilities. That's part of the new paradigm living. I still ain't thought about what I was going to think about. I was trying to think about. But let me see. Let me see if I can do this. I'm back on my, what do you call this thing? A browser. Okay. Right now I'm about to read down the various departments. You have the Department of Treasury, because I can't do them all. The Department of Defense, the Department of Justice. Oh, I want to talk about the Department of Justice, y'all. I covered the Department of Justice indirectly in my last live stream or two. And I talked about in that live stream the possibility that there is an extraterrestrial being, possibly of reptilian nature, or a reptilian species that has a controlling hand in our world and our existence. I'm still, waiting for further information on that. So I cannot, confirm that. But my studies have led me to believe that. Believe what? That we are overseen by a reptilian species that is dominant or supreme to us. And I bring that up because that reptilian species, if it is so, is possibly the species is called draconian. And in the last video or live stream I made, I talked about these draconians and how these draconians have their own laws. It's called the draconian laws. They also have their own constitution. It's called the draconian constitution. And in our near future, I do believe those draconian laws and that draconian constitution will be what ends up governing us in our new paradigm. Those draconian laws and that draconian constitution calls for extreme penalties for minor infractions. And that goes hand in hand with having to pay back the trillions and trillions of dollars that have been released in order to help sustain our lives through this transition from the old paradigm into the new paradigm. The time has come for us to move from the old paradigm into the new paradigm. Because of what? It's because we have advanced in technology to the degree that we can no longer move forward using the old means in which we have used in the past. You know what I'm saying? We have to upgrade. We have to upgrade our consciousness. We have to upgrade our awareness in order to what is it called? Be able to interact and interface with this realm when the realm, this physical world, is upgraded to what? Consist of and be governed by AI, artificial intelligence. Right now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the U.S. Department of what is it? Justice Cabinet. U.S. Department of Justice. So, what am I saying? In the old paradigm, we know our judicial system, what it has been. And primarily, it's supposed to just take into account whatever has occurred, the offense, all the evidence, and make a just and fair decision. And any penalties or whatever are supposed to be equivalent to whatever, is on the docket being seen. But in the new paradigm, those draconian laws. Ooh, what do we have here? Mexican food. Put it right here. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Mexican food, y'all. What's this? What they call it? A mukbang? A bang muck?
What? Those tacos. I don't know.
No, I'm talking about when they eat online. A mud bang.
I don't know what they call it. Okay.
And refried beans and guacamole. This is my own personal mukbang. Is it mud bang? Ask them. Is it mud bang? Bang and muck. A mukbang? Okay. I'm mukbanging. Tell me what? Oh gosh. Oh. So, in the new paradigm, as far as justice, our judicial system will be governed by those draconian laws and the Constitution, etc., etc. And again, there will be harsh penalties for any offense. What do they call it? Transgression, etc., etc. That's some deep stuff. That's some deep stuff. As a person that has been closely affiliated with the street life, it is nice. They thought about me. That's some stuff. That's some stuff. Because if you follow history, there was a time period that there was something called a debtor's prison. If you were indebted, oh shush, cakes. If this thing doesn't stop, okay, I'm not gonna take much longer, YouTube. I know I done did everything against y'all. And don't come in here. What do you want?
Let me get up before YouTube see my butt.
Yes. Please don't let YouTube see your behind. Your Speedos. Oh. I'll do it like this. This is my first mukbang, and this is fried beans and rice. So, and I'll eat a little bit, but I can't eat much because I'm not gonna choke to death eating. That's a fat person's worst nightmare. What's I about saying? Oh. Yeah, historically there were debtors' prisons in which people were imprisoned. Can I get a napkin? I don't even know how to mukbang. I'm gonna give it my best try. So, people were in prison if they were indebted to someone. Another thing that took place historically was if you were found guilty, please like, share, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Settle your debts. Settle your debts. What am I saying? in a new paradigm, it seems to me that such draconian laws will be executed on the people. So what does that say to us now? Right now that we're just 2 or 3 steps into the new paradigm. It says, hey, settle your debts now. Another thing that I think is going to change, I don't have any evidence, but I feel like it is that filing bankruptcy is going to be reformed. So what am I saying? Again, what do they call it? What do they call this thing again? It's called claim. I'm going to give you I forgot what it's called. Why do I go so brain dead? I'm gonna give you anyway, I can't remember the word. I do not hold any accolades. Disclaimer. I'll give you another disclaimer. Once again, I don't hold any accolades, degrees, certifications, or anything in the field of, I forgot what field I was about to cover. Oh, excuse me. In the field of law? Is that what it's about to do? Law. In law. Finances and law. Bankruptcy law. But I think that if you got some debts that you really can't handle, if you find yourself drowning, this is just my opinion, not professional advice, because I'm not a professional. I think right now will be the time, as soon as you can, to file bankruptcy. Because something in my heart tells me that our system is going to revise the bankruptcy laws that will not be beneficial to the people. If you can get rid of the debt now, get rid of it. Because we're being amended. And I don't think those amendments, especially based on the draconian laws and constitution, will be beneficial to the people. The people being me, you, and every individual in humanity. Mukbang time. I guess I can't get a nap. Oh shit. Excuse my language, I didn't make it. Where's my remote? I don't know where my remote at. There you go. I don't think I'm done yet. So it's Friday. But I don't think I'm done yet. That was the Department of Defense. Reading the various departments just to see is there anything else we should touch base on. Had the Department of Treasury. All debts called in under draconian law. All debts called in due under the draconian law. We get those under control or get rid of them through the old, currently still standing bankruptcy laws or whatever else. Get rid of it. Get forgiveness wherever you can get it now for the changes take place. You have the Department of Defense. New paradigm living. Now this is just hypothetical and very conspiratorial, that when it comes to the U.S. Department of Defense and other countries' defense department, we are going to move from the old paradigm. We are also moving from the old paradigm into the new paradigm. I don't know if I'm live or not still. Let me see. Okay. And moving from the old paradigm into the new paradigm has been done strategically, as everything else. One time we fought hand-to-hand combat. Then we went to guns and cannons. What was hand-to-hand combat, bows and arrows, knives, and then guns and cannons. Now we have nuclear weapons. I do believe even the most dictatorial person would not want to have nuclear war. So what can stop us just short of having nuclear war in this world? Well, yeah. The implementation and execution of AI law enforcement. That is something else that will change. What am I saying? I'm saying, hey, we have been told, because remember, I got to go back here. I shared in that other video, that live stream I made, I said, hey, when we start talking, if what I'm talking about, when I talked about those reptilians, called draconians, that might be over us, that species, extraterrestrial supreme species, um, God said, even in the King James Bible, he said, I'm a just and I'm a fair God. I'm not going to just do whatever to these people, to these creatures. I'm going to tell them. They going to know. But what that God did with a chuckle would say they won't know it all. They're going to know a part. You got to go find that video. So, right in the back of that, dealing with, what was I just dealing with? The Department of Defense. We have been introduced to AI dogs and other forms of security AI, extraterrestrial, what is that? Artificial intelligence, or cyborgs, or whatever you call them. You know, we've been introduced to them with the Terminator and, the Terminator and whatever other movie has had. What's that name? Movie with Will Smith with the electronic arm and iRobot. They say, when you drop the knowledge, it cuts out. Oh, they every time. They've been doing that to me since they saw I was real with this. I'm not being funny, but mukbang. I came on YouTube in 2015. Well, I guess it's been 5 years. The first month or two, I strictly did tarot. But I had so much to say. And I started making videos a little bit at a time because I had to build up the confidence and see if people really wanted to hear what I had to say. People watched and they listened. When I saw people were really watching and listening, about 2 years of being on YouTube, my channel had grew a little bit to where it is today, same amount. It's going down. I always argue and fuss about that. Excuse me. That food on my chin and my nose. So, sporadically, I would share what I knew. And I have to say this. That I had, when I was on, since I've been on YouTube, I had never seen anybody talk about the things that I talked about. I came to realize that there were certain groups that I wasn't exposed to that talked about the things that I talked about this physical realm and this experience. But it was isolated. And these people would be strongly into it. I don't know how to describe them, but usually it was white people, and a lot of them had not made it to, online. I'm sure some had made it online, some had not gotten popular. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm saying the general content here on YouTube was not about these things, it was not. I even look at people that talk about the stuff now, and I go back to when their channel first began. And I tapped on some of their videos. It was nothing about this stuff. But now everybody is focusing on it. It's real now. First it was just me talking or other people like myself talking, and so I've been looking at that, and I forgot what I was about to say. Anyway, mukbang. I was about to go somewhere with it. I'll get back to it. I forgot all about food falling on my mouth, excuse me. Now it's just popular, trending. I even looked at YouTube content creators that change their content or to fit what's been trending. And I noticed how, like, when I had to get quiet because I wasn't receiving any messages, I got real quiet. I was like, well, I'm just leave my channel up. People can access what they can access. It is what it is. If I ain't got nothing else to talk about, that's cool. But I'm watching people just talk. And that says something to me, as a person that is a person that receives messages, that decodes, that deciphers, that sees patterns, that most of this platform is just entertainment. And it's a dangerous thing because we're moving into some real challenging times. And many of the people are, I'll say, mesmerized or enchanted or captivated by people that just talk. And even though what the people may talk about occasionally does make rational sense relative to what's taking place, most of them are just picking up on the trend and riding the wave. Therefore, they have no foundation to what's really taking place. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. That's a whole nother live stream. So I'm going to let that alone. I'm going to let it alone. It's dangerous. Anywho, where was I at? I talked about the Department of Justice. Before I end this live stream, hopefully I can remember what I was supposed to talk about. The Department of Labor. The U.S. Department of Labor is another branch that, all branches are being amended, revised, updated to include our advancements in technology and awareness. The Department of Labor is no different. Many people woke up in the old paradigm at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning to check in and work between 6 and 8 a.m. They work the 9 to 5 or whatever it is, 8.5 hours to earn their bread, their money, to buy in to the natural resources that would sustain their life. And they commuted. The new paradigm now has, oh wow, yeah, because I wrote that down. There has been a strategic move to set up the transition of the labor force into the new paradigm. And one strategy that I can think of has been these consistent government shutdowns that led people to either have to stay home and do their work, stay home and not get paid, or this big thing, to be an essential worker, to have to go to work even if you ain't paid. Or to be an essential worker also means that you have to go to work, do your job, even if it leads you to be exposed to something deadly. So these are the things that have taken place, the various strategies that have taken place to help make the workforce that will still be in place during the new paradigm subservient to its employer. Did I make that make sense? What am I saying? Even though in a new paradigm, most people won't have to commute anymore to work. They can stay at home, access whatever app they use to do their job from home using the internet. They're going to do their job. They're going to push their buttons in order to what? Be able to get the money, earn the money that they need in order to buy into the natural resources and other things that they need to facilitate the comfort of their life. They're going to do it. The labor force is changing. Now that's something that I don't understand. that change that's going to take place. With so many businesses closing, I don't understand what's going to take place. Because people need a reason to get up. They need a purpose. They need to be able to get out. You know, get out the house. Get away from the people that they around all the time, like the family or the spouse. So it's not always just about making money, is what I'm saying. So, yes, it is possible that they're going to initiate a universal income. People will have a stifling to buy into what they want. But if that takes place, it also does away with a person's purpose of being able to get out, to make a name for themselves, that kind of thing. So I really don't know how they're going to manage that. I haven't been able to sit and meditate that long to see how, you know, because there's only so many people that are going to be in lines of work. And I talk about it when I say lines of work. I'm talking about the various departments that exist. They still need their workers. So we know in the various departments in our core social constructs, there are going to be workers, and those are the people that have been made susceptible and subservient, so that they'll be willing to do their work no matter what. I say we talked about, okay, I talked about that. The Department of Transportation, I'm gonna have to come back on that. Energy, education, talk about Veterans Affairs. Oh yeah, it's supposed to be a reduction. Oh yeah, I almost had it. Anyway, back to, we gonna pay back these trillions and trillions of dollars. There's also supposed to be a deduction in veteran affairs. That's interesting. Losing, let's say, excuse me, reduction in veterans affairs. That means then, when it comes to the budget, the government sets to how they're going to distribute the money. If the veteran affairs is going to have a major cut in the future, that suggests that they already barely take care of those people that are in the military or veterans. That suggests a reduction in that as well, and that gonna go off into many different things. Many different things. It could suggest a decline in military force and kind of having people be more like, what do you call them, National Guards, be more like categorized more as a National Guard, because why? We have so many advances in technology. We have military robots, drones, dogs, missiles, this and that. So they don't need as many physical people to man these AI weapons. They don't need as many. They just need specific people's, a few people educated in specific fields to pilot these various weapons. So that could also be why there's a reduction in the funds to veterans affairs, because people, they're gonna be like almost like downgraded. They grade or grade. They're gonna be downgraded to like National Guards, be on call military, not really active. There's a few things that's going on with that. So I'm trying to see if there's anything. I guess that's it right now. And I know I forgot something, and I froze. No, I'm gonna just mukbang right now if I'm still, because my stuff froze. So froze. Oh, I forgot. I'm supposed to do it like this. Let's see. Oh man. So I'm gonna do it like this. It's stuck together this time. Okay. Okay. Nope, I won't do it. Okay. They're stuck together. Last time you weren't stuck together. Oh, yeah. Oh, I talked about that. Well, something else, but I did talk about that. I guess I'll end this live stream because it was something else I was supposed to talk about, but I can't remember. So what is this 2 hour plus long live stream been about? It's been about the strategic move from the old paradigm into the new paradigm and how everything that we are experiencing goes together. It's very intentional. And it's literally moving us again from the old paradigm into the new paradigm. And the interesting thing is our mindsets, the people, especially people in the United States, we have a particular mindset. Many times it's very self-serving, egotistical, and narcissistic. So there is, I'm going to say this, that the citizens that create the United States population have a lot of differences, such as, and just an example, racism. I don't understand racism, so I understand there is a particular type of consciousness that embraces racism and understands racism. But understand this, a person that bears that type of consciousness, your mind has been washed and you have been programmed to be a obstacle. You've been programmed to be an obstacle, to be a tyrant. And if you really understood with the people that hold seats of power and or are, we gonna say, superior because of their makeup as far as being a species or whatever, or the intellect, why you hate, what I'm trying to say is why you hating on others, example, because of the skin color, you are literally, for lack of better words, a nincompoop to those of higher consciousness. You are a nincompoop. You are an idiot. And that's not me saying that. That is what they say. If you really look at all of the evidence before you, you are an obstacle to humanity, or those that you oppose or hate. You're an obstacle to us, the people, uniting in order to go up against the systems that are being put in place to control the world population as well as all of the natural resources. You're a nuisance. Truly you are. And if you understood how they think of you, how they think of any person that is, when I'm saying they, I'm talking about what I've seen is this reptilian species, this draconian species, as well as our 1 to 2%ers, the elitists, and the highly intelligent to the point of genius, thinks absolutely poorly of you, and trust and believe you are dispensable, but you're serving a purpose to helping them fulfill agenda by being a nuisance. You too are a part of this plan and everything that we're experiencing. In order to come out on top at the end of the reconstruction of our world structure, it is mandatory, and this is funny because this is what the God of that King James Version Bible said. The one that's a fair and just God said, y'all will know, y'all must know, even though it ain't nothing but a crumb. He said, we must, talking about the world's population, we must unite, we must be one, we must be agreeable, and we must work together in order to bring about an existence that includes us, that benefits us. Us who? All the people that create humanity at any given time. I don't know if that made sense. Hopefully it did. I'm about to finish my mukbang in private. I thank you all for coming here to Can Angels Fly and joining me and exploring the, god dang it kept turn off again, this pandemic that we're all going through. When I think about what I forgot to talk about, I'll make another laugh just to talk. You say, I was connected to you. I was born in 1970 and born in February. Were you? And I'm left-handed, so I see you. Wow. I think the new paradigm is shifting human beings to an AI consciousness. Yeah, we have to. So we will basically be robots. Natural human feelings will not be felt. But you know what? That is true. We will only, when I say we, I'm talking about us of a particular age, will only be like guinea pigs for the, what they say, the emergence of AI in human flesh. It is the next generation, and the one, and I ain't even talking about kids born now. Kids born now, of course, will experience the full emergence of AI if they live long enough. But it is that next generation that they will be, it's possible when those souls are incarnated, will be incarnated directly into AI suits rather than physical flesh suits. That's what's going on too. When we start talking about, what would that be, health, the health of people, something like that, mukbang. I don't get the mukbang. I don't know what it's about. I just know people be eating. And them people be eating big food. They be eating enough food to have a... Okay. Please like, share, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Bye.